Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. So what has been happening is with the COVID, we haven't had too many folks coming by to play. We still occasionally a Saturday we keep our distance and we have about 5-6 people that come play. We're still doing the board game, of course. So here's where the state of everything is. We had looked at our options of expanding the garage and decided that that was going to be too costly for the current situation. And I have decided I'm bringing an electrician tomorrow. He's going to go ahead and wire up new breakers for the pods. We're going to bring in 2 more pods. And in preparation, as you can see, I've just got the 2 pods. I do have the rafters completely clear of everything, except for the ladder, which I'll be taking down. I've already started prepping of removing everything. Right now, these 2 walls are just this ugly-ass board with no insulation behind it. So the plan is I've got moisture resistant drywall. I'll be doing both walls with moisture resistant drywall. I've got R13 insulation to put behind there, R30 for the ceiling, as well as boards for the ceiling. And how did I make all this room? Well, what I did, it is a pigsty out here, so apologies, everything. Hey look, a kitty. This is what we built. So dug up a ton of rock. It was 2 inches deep of rock, and we had to fill it with dirt to bring it 4 inches up to make it level with the existing pad. We got these pavers, and I laid down, I did a cement form filled with dirt and then a sand on top to make it level. And the pavers I got at Lowe's for really cheap on sale. Who cares, they're going to be covered anyway. And I'm going to put this 8x10 shed out here. It's a garden shed. I've got it right now with all the gardening stuff, snowblower, you name it. Everything's in here. Got the old countertop that was in the garage in here, where it makes a nice workbench. Great little shed. New fence out the back. So we're preparing to have the 4 pods. I've got buddies coming by today to help demo the garage. We're going to take down this cabinet. And it will be going back where it was, but I'm going to take it down so that we can get to the boards behind and tear those all down and insulate it. This whole section I moved from the other side. It is now over here. I'm going to move it away from the wall so I can access that wall. Redo the shelves so they're not all floppy like they are. And that'll be the new console. This pod will now become pod 1, and it will be against this wall. This pod will become pod 2, and it'll be here facing with the door on the inside. About a 2.5 to 3 foot gap in between the 2, and then 2 more pods on the way. I'm not going to show the progress of us doing the drywall and the insulation because there's hundreds of those videos on YouTube. I am more about showing the work on the pods. So once I get this all done, I'll have it painted. I'll bring in 2 more pods and show the cleaning and the setup of those. I'm not too sure about the condition of them. They've been sitting in a buddy's house, and we'll see how they look. I know they'll need screens. Oh yeah, that is for an attic door that's currently in the back of my truck. You can see my truck is filled with the attic insulation, and there's an attic door in it. Should be a lot of fun. It's going to look great when it's all done, and it's going to make it nice and warm in the winter, well, warmer and cool in the summer. I do have an AC unit for the window that I'm going to try and hook up as well. So thanks, and definitely making progress here. And we're back. So this is a week later. It is now Memorial Day, and the garage is as done as I want to do it. I'll take you on a brief tour. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to my brother, then Dave and Keith and Paul. The 4 of them helped out immensely, and I just thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. They're really good friends of mine, and they always step up to help out, and they surely did. We hammered this out in just under a week, and today we just moved the 2 pods in. So I'll take you on a tour. Alright, we'll start at the end here. So now we have a ceiling in. I had a structural engineer come in and double check the weight that it could take. We have the 4 pods. All 4 in here, pods 1 and 2 up there. Here's 3 and 4. I will be hanging up some of the house logos here. You see my propeller up top. New lights, thanks to my brother. Over here we have the Jade Falcon. and where the console is. So the console's now over here. I put up these shelves. They'll house all of my Battletech stuff, all the parts. Got my miter saw down there, my drill press is behind the other pods. So this is where this goes. Attic door's in, I did some molding and painted it. Door, I've got the molding around it, as well as the big lock. Redid the cabinet a little bit and hung it up better so it's stronger. Pods 1 and 2, we now have Merrick and Davion at the end of them. And instead of Gypsy, what I've done is for Dave, Paul, and Keith, I'm going to give them each a pod to call their own. Obviously I'll own it, but I'm going to let them deck it out with the joystick that they want. And the nose art, this will be Plains Riders, Dave, and he wanted Calamity Jane, so that's what he gets. So I changed out Gypsy to Calamity Jane. Over here we'll have Keith and Paul, the brothers, and one will be Martian Belle, if I remember, and the other one will be Divine Wind. So here's the other two pods. They are filthy. I did blow them out briefly at the beginning. You can see, just like the other ones, completely gutted. Seats look good. Here's pod 3. You can see in it, all the wires are hanging on the beam splitter. Aren't I lucky? Here we have pod 3. Over here, pod 4. Look at it from the other angle. So, got my truck, which still fits, and the 4 pods. So I'm off the rest of this week. I will do my best to get the other 2 pods at 100% running. I would like to have them ready this Saturday for when everybody comes over so we can do some 2-on-2 games. It was a lot of work. It went really smoothly though. The roof, the remodel of the garage did not go smoothly though. I had numerous times of things that happened. I did fall through the ceiling and caught myself on 2 of the joists because I didn't double check my footing, and I'll put some photos up of what happened to my biceps. I basically landed on my arms and busted a vein in my left pretty badly. The bruises have gone down pretty well. I'll show you what they look like now. You can see my right arm, pretty good sized bruise. I've got another bruise there, and my left arm is another. The other thing that happened was I dinged my head really badly on one of the garage rails when I was doing the framing for the window and busted it open pretty good. Of course, heads bleed worse than what you think, and it's fine. It barely has any swelling, so that's where we stand. I will now start working on pods 3 and 4. We'll take it from there. Stay tuned. Alright, so we're going to start with pod 3 first. Again, what I'd like to do, I did this before on the other 2, but what I like to do first is I remove the rail for the door, which is 7/16, so there's usually 2 to 3 bolts that hold it in with the washers on the inside, which is what you always want. Already wipe this down. I'll remove the plasma, which is up to 6 1/4-inch bolts, and it's got a power and a 9-pin serial port, a serial cable, so I'll remove that and set it on top. This faux plastic will then come off, anyway, it's not faux plastic, but this part of the pod, it's just for design. It serves no other purpose. That'll come off. I'll remove this piece of plastic, and then I'll remove both boards that are underneath it. The inside is already gutted, so I'll run all the wires for that. I've got to run the wires under the pod. Then I'll move to the main tech bay. And under this, I'll run the wires, and I've got to check every one of them, make sure that nothing's stripped off. And I'll unplug the Rio, make sure that it doesn't have a signal or power to it. And I will run a power test. As soon as I get that done and make sure that the power works, that I don't have any sparks or anything that's shorting out, I will then test the Rio and the button boards and make sure that all those work. Make sure the pod is at 100% wiring and power first before I even start with the PC. So I'm going to get started on that. I'll put it on time lapse and we'll start wiring this up. Okay, I figured this is a good place to stop, have some lunch. So where I'm at now, the inside, I have the top 3 MFDs done. The wires ran and cleaned and put for the fan and the speakers. I have the top Rio read board is installed. The keypad is installed. I have to do the 4 lines that run underneath the bottom. This is what they look like. So this is running from the joystick and the throttle. So you have these 2 ribbon cables. These go to your button boards. One of them is for the joystick itself, which has 8 buttons. The other one is for the throttle, which has 1, and also the eject light. The other 2 are for the optic encoders. You have these 2. The smaller one is the optic encoder for the throttle, because it has forward and backward. The joystick itself is twice as big because it has horizontal and vertical on the optic encoders. These 4 lines run underneath the pod entirely up to the tech bay. You have to drag them up from in there and attach everything together. So you want to make sure that these are free, that there's nothing constricting them at all. And I've got the seat out right now so I can climb underneath there and run it all the way. One of the button boards is behind at the back. The other one I decided to put near the joystick itself so it's out of the way. These 2 pods are going to be closer to where I pull my truck in, that it's potential that water is actually going to get in or underneath it. So I've really got to make sure that these are up in the tech bay, that they're not going to take a chance of getting any moisture in them so they don't rust or short out. Otherwise, I've cleaned a lot of it. The 5 chassis bolts are in for the horseshoe. The speakers are all hooked up. Joystick is back the way it was. Throttle seems to work. I did repair the seat because it was missing its adjuster, and I do want to show you what the optic bay looks like. It is not pretty, and I found a piece of wood in there that they cut, that they tried to make to where the main monitor just sat on it instead of being at the angle that it's supposed to be. So I did have the 2 blocks that used to go in here. I did find those, and I went ahead and used a little bit of wood glue, cinched them down, and put the bolts in so it'll set with them in position before I put the main monitor in place. So I will show you that next. Alright, this is what the optics bay looks like currently. You can see I have the 2 wedge pieces installed on both sides. I do have the wires for the MFDs are all tucked up there. I'm running the original CRT MFDs for now. I will do conversions at a later time. I am going to drill and put a fan to blow up and out to exhaust the heat from the CRT for the main. And then you come down here to the optic bay and you can see just how filthy it is. You can see that now. That is how filthy the beam splitter is. Mirror in the back, almost just as filthy. I have cleaned up the wires in here. I did take the secondary cable out for the adjuster because I will be changing this to an LCD radar screen. You can see these are all cleaned up now. I do have the Rio's communications, that's 9-pin serial port disconnected, as well as the power. That is disconnected as well, so when I do go to power this up, the Rio won't take a chance of shorting. This will obviously tuck up out of the way when I bring the main screen in. I do still have the bolts in for the main screen that are holding these down, that are glued now, so that way they don't shift. Here's what the inside looks like now. In here, joystick is done right. I've got both lowers in. I do have the entire secondary display and housing out because I will be changing that. I have all 3 of the top MFDs in, as well as the center bezel. And this is got its first primary clean. It will require a little bit more. You can see the spine and everything. It's all in. I wanted to show how I run the bottom line. Throttle forward so your gut doesn't take too much of it. You have to get your arm all the way up to about where I'm sitting. Watch out for spiders, cobwebs, and anything else. Another fun thing I found, which is very interesting to me, because these pods have been owned and operated by Hinkle Family Fun Center down in New Mexico for a number of years. At least, in my opinion, it's got to be 6-7 years. Before that, they were owned by Dave & Buster's. Well, in one of the monitors, one of the monitor bays, I found an old Dave & Buster's power card. Part of me wants to check and see if it's any good still, if it has any points or anything on it, but that is funny because this card's got to be close to 10+ years old. Alright, I think we're at the point that I can run the first power-up test. Remember, Rio is unplugged in both ends. My cat is climbing on my truck. The top 3 monitors are plugged in, the bottom 2 are plugged in. There is no main screen to power up. Main power for the plasma's up. Let's see. Got 2 fans not working here. Top fan's working. Bottom fans are all working. Looking good. Okay. First power up successful. I wanted to show this. This is the rat's nest, or proverbial rat's nest of wiring that is currently going on in this pod. It is insane. That's not too bad because that's where the PC goes. There's the top with the main. Optics bay is not bad at all. But that's going to be fun. Alright, this is prior to taking the air can to it. I do have to still take out the fan, that's it. But I've taped off where I'm going to respray paint because that is all worn out. I've taken the secondary bezel out as usual. I'll be working on the end that keeps it from reflecting. There's the back. Seat is out. I've already ran the wires. I've tilted the pod to be able to do it. I made it a little bit easier. Wire-wise, so those are all in. Here's now what this looks like. So here is the optic bay with the main monitor. You can see everything is wired, tied up nice along here. Going along the side here, you can see I redid all this. You can now actually see the Rio, and underneath is all cleaned up. So what we're going to do next is take the air compressor, blow this out after I take the fan out, and hopefully get it cleaned up. And look, garage cat.